Okay, turn it off. That's all we can afford.
What's going on, you guys? Steve here. Today, this one's going to be a little different. So I've been feeling kind of nostalgic, especially with this channel where I'm revisiting a whole bunch of retro games. And I basically dug up my old Xbox 360 and I've been grinding Skate 3 and more recently GTA 4. In this video, I want to share some of my thoughts about GTA 4 after maneuvering through a decent part of the story mode at this point. I'm probably almost done, but yeah. Anyways, there's a bunch of really well put together retrospectives on this game. So I'm just going to, give my thoughts really quick from a very casual perspective. I played this game around launch, not much. I think I just played through the story mode and a little bit of online for a bit. When I got my PS4 and GTA 5, yeah, I just never went back to my 360. There's some really good games on that console. I feel like most people appreciate the 360, but I definitely sleep on it now, or I was until I uncovered it and knocked the dust off of it. It's actually really cool. Let's get into it. I just want to share a few thoughts and kind of give some bullet points of the game, stuff that I've observed as we're approaching the release of GTA 6.
Oscar, you want a treat? Yeah.
There you go. Sorry, my dog is like laying on my foot. GTA 4 originally released on April 29th in 2008. And I feel like that's very important because this game is essentially a timepiece now. This game is entering the territory of San Andreas or Vice City, where now enough time has passed to where we can look back on 2008 as a completely different time in life, a completely different world compared to 2026. GTA 4 was also the first entry in what they call the HD universe. This was the first game to reset the GTA timeline. All of the games that released on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox, they call that the 3D universe. The HD universe has some very vague references. It has some of the same brands. Some of the same things apply. Laszlo, the talk radio host, is in the game. I believe he's been in every single game. He was a youngster in Vice City. And over the years, throughout all of the different games, as we move into more contemporary times like GTA 5, he's now an older radio veteran. So it's been kind of cool that they've been, there's a subtle lore to him in the radio station. The story in GTA 4 is really cool so far. And from what I remember about the ending as well, you play as Niko Bellic. He's a Russian refugee. He's a war veteran. He's got some PTSD and he's got a bunch of personal stuff going on that he doesn't really dive into too deep. He's not necessarily a good guy. He's not necessarily a bad guy. He's kind of this anti-hero who he'll do whatever if the price is right. He does have a moral compass. He does understand right and wrong, but he is in survival mode. So that is a pretty compelling story, to be honest. Essentially, he moves to America in search of a new life. He wants a clean slate, but if you played a GTA game before, you understand that's not very easy. Literally off the boat, he gets lumped into organized crime and contract, the whole shebang. What's interesting about this game is it also has this feature where there's some branching choices that you can make. You can choose to take out some characters or give them grace, give them mercy. And there's also a choice at the end that dictates the cutscene or kind of how the game ends. I'm not there yet. I don't fully remember, but I believe there's a choice right before the end of the game that dictates how the game ends. So there is some replayability. I appreciate games like Detroit. That game is super sick because every single decision you make in that game, it dictates how other characters perceive you, the other missions, how you move forward in the game. So yeah, it would be cool if even in GTA 6, you can make choices and it dictates different cutscenes and who you interact with, characters you meet, characters you don't meet. That would be pretty cool. The map in this game, oddly enough, is smaller than San Andreas for the PlayStation 2. The world is just so immersive. I would say maybe that's a hot take to say more lived in, more immersive than GTA 5 because it is more expansive. There's animals and all kinds of stuff going on. So there is more to do in GTA 5. But just coming back to GTA 4 with fresh eyes, it just feels very lived in. Like you can literally just walk around on the sidewalk for a couple minutes and just kind of look around and people are sweeping and mopping and people are selling hot dogs and there's all kinds of stuff going on. You hear music playing and cars are driving by. You can tell the blueprint for GTA 5 is all over GTA 4. I don't want to downplay this game, but it definitely feels like this was kind of a proof of concept for what they were going to do in the future. As far as the graphics, I think the game aged fairly well. It does have a bunch of that Xbox 360, PS3 charm. A lot of the characters have that Xbox 360, PS3 shine to them. The game has that brown tint, that iconic brown tint that all of those games at that time had. It does look dated, but it is still decent. The visuals aren't very jarring, I'll say that. It was okay to come back to this and I wasn't like, golly, man, man, this looks like trash. It does look pretty decent. Something that's really interesting about GTA 4, coming back to it, is the driving physics. All of the vehicles feel very heavy. You can't just whip them around like some Hot Wheels. Like, your turns are very weighted, and when you're driving fast, it's much harder to turn, and braking is harder in this game. Yeah, if you're just hucking it and driving like a psychopath, you're gonna hit something. I do appreciate the physics, even when you see the characters kind of sling around in the car as you're driving. That's pretty cool. That's a nice touch. This game also introduced this dynamic car damage system where if you scrape up against another bumper or if you hit a pole or something, you're going to get damage in that specific area, and it's going to reflect how hard you scraped or hit whatever the object was. You could also wash your cars. Your cars get dirty if you just huck them and drive them forever without cleaning them. Something that I noticed almost immediately was how dense the traffic is. This game, you're going to be driving less, and also it seems like there's way more traffic. I feel like this game having heavier traffic than GTA 5 or even the previous games just makes it feel larger because you're just spending more time kind of looking around at the buildings as you're passing. If you're being a Boy Scout with your driving and you're actually stopping at intersections, you're seeing people kind of maneuver around. You're watching someone hop across the street and walk into a diner. You're watching them on their phones. You're watching them go up to the subway or the train station. I'm sorry, going up to the subway. Another aspect of driving is that in GTA 4, you don't have those random NPCs that just abruptly dart in front of you and then just eject you out of your front windshield. And I believe the slower and denser traffic was their fix for that. My understanding of the game anyways is that the GTA 5 devs made that mechanism where random NPCs dart out in front of you if you're driving way too fast so that the game engine can render a bunch of the assets. So that was their fix to kind of keep people in check so they're not speed running the game and then all of the assets are not rendering in the right way. In GTA 4, they carried over the eating for health system. They got rid of the system where you can go to the gym and gain weight, lose weight. That's gone, but you still can't eat if you need some health. This was the game where they introduced the more extensive cell phone system. Your cell phone in this game is going to be how you communicate with your friends, how you communicate with your enemies, people who have missions for you, setting up and coordinating dates. You're going to have random NPCs along the way where they want to play darts, they want to play pool, they want to go to the bar, they want to bowl with you, they want to hang out. So that's a pretty cool dynamic where you can hang out and live in the world. You don't have to just run and gun and do all these missions. Obviously, this carried over into GTA 5, but in GTA 4, you use a flip phone, or it's not a flip phone, it's just a regular tactile button phone. That's very important because this game came out in 2008 when I believe the original iPhone was very fresh on the market. Back then, context is very important with this game because this came out right at the time when social media and touchscreen phones were becoming a thing. This is one of those relics of the time, like right when we were seeing that shift towards social media, and it's really interesting. Another thing that changed is computers and the internet cafes and using your email. In GTA 5, you can access your email and everything you need on the computer on your touchscreen phone. But in GTA 4, you have to go to specific places to use laptops or computers. The computer system is very similar to GTA 5. The layout looks almost identical. You use it for basically the same things. You can set up dates on there. You can buy cars and vehicles. You can buy ringtones. On top of that, there's also dating and hangouts. There's also a friend rating system where if your friends, your NPC homies, they reach out to you and they're like, hey, let's go play some pool. If you don't answer their call, or if you reject them because you want to do something else, that impacts your rating. And what your rating does is if you hang out with those people and you're like, yeah, let's go hang out, let's kick it, then your rating goes up. And if you reach a certain threshold, like 50, 60, 70% or higher, you get a certain perk like free taxi rides or free weapons or whatever it is. Something else about the game is that Cat Williams has a stand-up special in the game. So if you're a Cat Williams fan and you want to check out some comedy in the digital world, you can. The soundtrack in this game, I would say, is my biggest nitpick, I guess, if you really want to call it a nitpick. None of this stuff makes me angry. I'm not like pissed off or whatever, but it's probably the one thing that I observed where I was like, I kind of wish this was different. Something that's interesting about all of the 3D and HD games specifically is the soundtrack. It defines all of the games. But in GTA 4, it's kind of all over the place and not so much of a set piece or a time capsule like all of the other soundtracks. The world is so ambiguous, so you can't really tell what time period it is outside of, okay, there's like a bunch of black dudes wearing goose downs and Timbs. I can tell this is the mid 2000s, late 2000s, or the fact that you have to go to a dedicated room to use a computer. Yeah, That's very 2000s. That's just a nitpick, but it's not a big deal. The game is still awesome. I love the music. It's still cool. There's some big hits. There's some iconic artists on there. But yeah, the music is just all over the place. It's not necessarily the greatest artist of 2007 or 2008 whenever they had the license. Something else in this game is that money is not really necessary. It's never really a problem because you're just constantly stacking cash and you just randomly get new safe houses and new things to use within the game. So you don't really feel like you need to. I don't really feel like I needed to buy too many things to maneuver around the world. You make a bunch of money, but it doesn't seem like there's too much stuff to spend it on. Something else in this game, I noticed there's a bunch of angry NPCs. Maybe that's just kind of playing up the whole angry New Yorker trope. But yeah, the NPCs in GTA 4 are ready to scrap at all times. Everybody's talking crazy. Some of those pedestrians are real disrespectful. Even when people hit your car or if you hit their car, whatever the situation is, a bunch of people got sticks on them and they're down to hop out the car and shoot. Something else I noticed is that smaller neighborhoods seem to be way more congested than the big neighborhoods, like their kind of mock Times Square area. They have these huge like 5-6 lane streets one way and there's only a couple cars in there, so it feels kind of naked compared to some of the smaller areas in the first part of the map where there's cars and people everywhere and it feels very active. It's kind of backwards. There's also some really outdated jokes and social norms. I don't really want to get into the weeds about this because I just don't feel like it. But yeah, there's a bunch of jokes and stuff they say in the game that probably wouldn't fly now in GTA 6. I imagine they're not going to say half the stuff they say in GTA 4. Even in GTA 5, it seems they cleaned up some of the language, some of the slurs, some of the rhetoric they have, a bunch of the jokes. It seems like they removed them or they toned them down in GTA 5. I'm not the tone police, I'm not the super woke police or whatever, but just an observation. Yeah, the language, they're letting it fly in GTA 4 compared to some of their newer games. Something else that's pretty interesting and something I used was calling a taxi. You can also use the train. That's a method for skipping the drive grind because as I communicated, driving is pretty slow. You're going to get stuck at some lights, some intersections, especially if people are crashing. You got NPCs crashing and blocking the road. You're going to have to hop on the curb to get around them. You might need to drive around the block. Driving can be a nuisance. So it is cool that you can actually call these NPC taxis and just speed run straight to your objective. Even in the middle of a mission, you can just mob all the way across the map by calling a taxi and just skipping. So that is cool. The game also has some glitches. Not many, but they are kind of game breaking. They are kind of annoying. I did notice some cutscenes where certain assets, some of the characters weren't rendering in, talking eyeballs for a couple seconds. It's kind of weird. Some cutscenes, they have characters that are trying to look through glass or something. They're trying to go for this artsy fartsy shot and you can't see the characters and then magically you see them through the glass. It's kind of jarring. There's also this glitch that I encountered almost every single time in Algonquin, I think that's what it's called, where essentially it's called the infinite horn glitch, where for whatever reason there's just a horn that's just going off all the time. This neighborhood, you're just always going to hear this and it does not end. This game also has online multiplayer and it's a little different from GTA 5 because it's more of just an open sandbox where they give you the weapons and everything you need and you kind of load up in these servers and just run and gun with other players. This game wasn't riddled with microtransactions. That wasn't really a thing at the time. It was becoming a thing, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now, I would say. To this day, it's still active because of backwards compatibility, which is cool, so you can still access the game. Not on 360 because the official servers were shut down, but yeah, you can still hop online in GTA 4 if you want to. There was some DLC for the game that extends the story mode, which is cool. There's a complete version of the game for about $20 used, I want to say. Microtransactions and DLC were a thing for the Xbox 360 generation. It is a part of the game, but it wasn't so vital or necessary like it is now in gaming. Lastly, there's been some fan mods in the game, which is really cool. There's a bunch of people who have been revisiting this game and they've been touching up the visuals and changing a bunch of different things. I think it's really cool. Ultimately, I think GTA 4 was a very ambitious game. This was kind of Rockstar's statement. This was their first step into the Xbox 360, PS3 generation of gaming. I think they did a good job. The game has some issues. It was definitely a testing ground for GTA 5 and it kind of feels that way. When I look at a bunch of stuff, it's like, oh yeah, I can tell they tried this, but they definitely patched this up in GTA 5. Or, okay, they removed this. Yeah, this got fixed. This got changed. You can kind of see the DNA of it throughout GTA 4. But overall, yeah, GTA 4 is a really awesome game. I encourage everybody to revisit this if you can.